You ever wonder about your relationships? Well, it's a lunar eclipse today, and that's one of the topics that I'll be addressing. But before we launch into the eclipse information, please go ahead and down at the bottom, like and subscribe to my channel and to my page if that's where you're viewing this. Your support through comments and likes really mean a lot to me. Thanks, keeps me going. Today we have a full moon, lunar eclipse, which is an auspicious time. Eclipses are a portal in which the energy has a reverberation that lasts about 6 months. And this is the last lunar eclipse in Taurus that we have for a number of years. Now, the moon is exalted in Taurus, which means that it operates more efficiently in satisfying those lunar needs of safety and security on an emotional level. The moon in Taurus is really close to home, so we feel these needs really on a visceral level. And during this time, you may be more aware of the connections between your emotions and your physical body. For example, if you're worried about something either right now or you have in the past, something that you may notice is that sometimes your stomach is upset or you don't feel especially well. And this is a cue to listen to your body and make changes to solve those worries or dilemmas so that your body feels relief. And this time serves as a reminder to really listen closely and tune in to your physical body and the messages. Because Taurus is, of all things, it's about embodiment. It wants you to be in your body and to trust your body's wisdom. That's the message. So if you're more of a thinking person, as I tend to be, I have a lot of air in my chart. So for those of us that have more air, it can be a little bit more difficult to kind of drop into the body. Some of you, it may be super easy. This may be your natural way of being. But for those of us that are more up in our heads, it can be a little bit more difficult. So it really doesn't matter, but whether you are or you aren't, but this particular time is a big cue to just be aware of your emotions, your emotional body, and your physical needs. And self-care is really important. Lean in at this particular time and be aware of that communication between your body and like what you're communicating from your body and what you need from your body. So during this eclipse, Jupiter is also in the equation. It's the planet of expansion. And Jupiter joins the moon. And it's right now, it's opposite the sun, Mercury, and Mars. And what's important about this particular time period, as we look at the symbolism, is that there's a spotlight on conflict within yourself and possibly with others. In a spiritual reflective context, we see that the energies right now are set up in such a way that you might find the struggle to balance within. You may have emotional disputes, and they may actually even erupt verbally as you are trying to find the middle ground between your head and your heart. And right now it feels a little bit out of control with Mars and Jupiter in the mix. Mars is about fast action, often action without thinking about the consequences. And there is this expanded urgency and reactionary energy that feels almost like a compulsion. And I would just ask you to be cautious of that instinctive nature if you can, just because it wants to react too quickly to situations without thinking about things. And currently we're seeing this play out, this very highly reactive energy playing out on the world stage in an extreme and destructive way. That's kind of the worst case scenario. Bringing it back to a personal level, again, take those cues and be in alignment with your body. Whether it's taking self-care steps, such as re-upping your meditation or your yoga practices. This again brings the head and the body into communication, or whether it's just pure exercising, whether it's swimming, biking, riding, hiking, whatever. But again, it's really getting your body into the equation. So maybe it's also self-care looks like making that appointment to see your doctor for your physical exam. Whatever it is, with the moon in Taurus, this is time to take care of those things. If you're curious about what part of life this eclipse is lighting up for you, look to see what house 5 degrees Taurus, which is where the moon is at, lands in your chart. And this is going to be an area of life where you're going to see these themes play out. Maybe it's the second house of money, or the 7th house of relationships, or the 10th house of career and your position in society, just to name a few. This is where we take the transits of the time and we bring them down and apply them personally to your life. So this is how it makes the flavor unique to you. Another big theme during this time period is that we have the lunar nodes, or the nodes of the moon, are locked in a square with Pluto. And this is a long-lasting signature. It's not just about this eclipse period. And I've been writing about this in my posts for some time. The Aries-Libra axis of the nodes are about balancing your needs, or the I, with the we energy, or we, finding the balance between them. So in short, it's about right relations. So how do we be in relationship with another without sacrificing our needs? And often when we're young, this is something that's a little bit more difficult to do when we're kind of new in relationships. So how do we be in relationship with fairness and equality without moving between the two of selfishness or selflessness? So it's balancing this being in relationship, but yet still having autonomy and making room for yourself. So on one side we have that, and on the other side being a full partner in your relationships. So this is that dance that those of you that are in relationships, whether it's new or long-term, that this is a dance we're constantly kind of trying to balance. And it's not uncommon to go slightly out of balance and then finding that center again. But this is the time period, with the focus on the Aries-Libra nodal axis, that we're getting a spotlight put on this. And I always think that this is a really good time to kind of put the focus on that awareness. So whether we're kind of an observer outside of ourselves, or we can be monitoring and adjusting what we need to do to keep this in good balance, because of course that's, in my mind, a big fundamental of a healthy relationship. So find that place, put that in the front focus of your mind. This is going to be in play for about a year, maybe a little bit more. And right now, that axis is square, the planet Pluto, which is the furthest one out. And Pluto represents transformation. Now, with Pluto, we cannot escape its influence. It really wants us to transform and then transcend what no longer works, so that a new model can be put into place. So if you're finding that things are not working for you in how you address relationships or how balanced they are, Pluto was going to disrupt things so that it becomes an important piece for you to address right now. So Pluto will disrupt until the goal is achieved. And my best advice for this particular time is to listen to the signs and signals, so that most importantly, you become aware of it, start thinking about it, and really do not resist. Don't hang on to what has always worked before, because if it no longer works, you need to examine with an open mind and make the needed and necessary changes. Sometimes there'll be big changes. Sometimes if you've been kind of making small changes all along, when you look back, you will see that these changes actually do add up to quite a bit of switch and change. But most importantly, just remember that, as the old adage goes, that change is the only thing that we can count on. And that's a really good piece to remember during this time. So that's all for now. And thank you so much for listening. And until next time, remember to stand very grounded with your feet on the ground and your face to the sky to get the wisdom from the cosmos. Thank you again.